from industry to academia to government to foreign participants took part in the expo yesterday and had a round of fruitful discussion and session with our exhibitors. Today, we are on the verge of starting the second session. Today, we are lined up with 3 sessions, and this is session number 2, which is on building synergies, the stakeholder collaboration for optimizing technology, intervention, and creating new business opportunities. I'm happy to share that we have a very senior, eminent speakers from the academia as well as the industry. And Dr. Chindi Vasudevappa, who is the Vice Chancellor for NIFTM, I'm sure he doesn't need any introduction to the audience. He's well, everyone knows him very well. Yeah, he shall be the chairing the session as well as the moderating the session. And I believe briefly take you all as I invite Dr. VC Saab for his inaugural keynote address. In the meantime, I'll run through the brief biodata of the speakers who we have in the panel discussion. Just my request to all the participants: should you have any question to any of the panel members, please put it into Q&A section, and we will take this forward towards the end of the session. VC Saab, over to you.
Yeah. Yeah. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to all the learned panelists and also the participants in the whole session. And nice to have all of you here together, especially on an important topic, that is building synergies, stakeholder collaboration for optimizing technology interventions and creating new business opportunities. Probably, of course, we know who are all the stakeholders. Stakeholders could be the government, could be the academia, could be the industry. So that means on a broader category, if you look at, these are the 3 stakeholders. I know these stakeholders matter very much, especially the government, proactive, I would say, support from the government. Academia has to really look into seriously how best they can resolve the issues. And of course, industry should depend or trust the academia. These are the 3 facets of, I would say, the present the topic which we are going to discuss. Of course, we know academia is a Greek word. So it's a collective team of, I would say, students, faculty, and scholars who are engaged in higher education and research. In fact, higher education has taken priority over research in most universities. But all the same, research capability need to be enhanced, because education should lead to something which is a good outcome which can be adopted by the industry. Of course, industry always, it refers to any type of economic activity producing goods and services. This is the common the definition which is given. It's part of the chain, especially converting raw material into some product into service, and services to the market. I think probably these are, and also leading to the R&D. I think this is where the industry has to play a pivotal role. And of course, the government on the other side, always, it is the mentor for both the academia and also to the industry. So where they can support, come up with proactive policies and things like that. So that's where we need to depend on the government. Looking to the need per se, I would say, industry need to invest in initiatives of new technology development, but all to depend on brought out technologies from other countries, which again is hindering, I would say, the collaborations. Maybe true to a certain extent, they don't know what is that the institution are doing, or institution is not telling them what they are doing. That's where I think the problem lies. And probably I think this is very much required, especially, and they have a lot of expectations on academia with regard to the requirement in minor interventions rather than the major interventions or innovations which are essential for the industry for absorption and implementation. Of course, Indian economy is being integrated into world economy now. Probably, I think the resurgent India sees wealth development as a greater equalizer amongst all sections of the society. Probably this is where, with globalization and urbanization, the job market has become more competitive, which includes requirements for a specialized workforce with additional skills and knowledge, critical thinking and analytical skills, which I would say is the motive of the new education policy as well. I think we have to really understand these concerns, these issues and these potentials. That's where otherwise I think we will be not depending on each other, not trusting each other, not believing each other. This should not happen. And of course, coming to the always, the barriers, if you look at probably a few barriers, I would like just, and as an introductory thing, I want to just mention these things. Probably the panelists can discuss on all these issues. Probably from the government side, I feel a good support for establishing state-of-art R&D laboratories is very, very important. Because I know always good innovations, good outcomes come from good laboratories. So that means this is something which is very, very important. And a flexible policy while dealing with the academia industry collaborations. So whenever we talk about collaboration, it is not that the academia has a full freedom to do whatever they like. Probably that's where the flexible policy is required, and the provision of better incentives, especially to the excellence in research. I think this is another big area. Maybe the research which is happening at the local level or the institutional level, or maybe the experts who are coming from outside or from the industry per se. I think these things have to be looked in probably very seriously. Coming to the industry, of course, always there is a widespread indifference amongst the academicians themselves, many a times not believing each other or trying to pull each other's legs, or they are not bothered about the applied research because that doesn't pay them anything. Especially the research per se, if you look at, people are more tend to take up research work which can lead to some good research project or research paper. We may not get, but you can always get recognition from the industry. That's where I think the incentivization has to happen. And I would say non-flexibility of university system. This is also a very important thing. Probably there has to be a lot of freedom and autonomy, especially dealing with such of these the projects. And a lack of knowledge regarding real industrial or national needs. So especially among the academia. I think because unless we are more exposed to such of these issues, probably we will be really not addressing the requirement of the industry. That should not happen. That's where I think the industry academia relationship has to be good, and the academia should be an excellent the resource base where they can really depend upon so many other things. Coming to the industry, always I think this is one thing which we need to really look at seriously. Always industry time frames are instant, immediately they want result. I know it's requirement for them to improve their business, but at the same time I would say, and the investments are guided by efforts that lead quick solutions. I know this is where industry is there. Probably I think we need to really be very confident in taking such of these industry collaborations, not trying out something a research which doesn't yield us anything, because industry is not worried about your academic research. So that is something which probably I think is in the interest of the industry. We need to really shape up well. And of course, one another thing, very important thing is reluctance to invest in its internal R&D institutions by the industry. This is where, because I told you already, technologies when they are readily available, they want to invest whatever may be the amount, and in fact I would say that may not really yield good results in terms of adjusting or accommodating the local situations. So that is something which is very, very important. And of course, lack of cognizance of resources that are already developed by the institutions. This is something which again very, very important. We need to understand, probably when you are going to any institution, look through their websites, look through their R&D achievements, whatever it is, so that you have a complete knowledge which becomes easy to discuss and also deliberate and probably come up with some solutions. And of course, unhealthy obsession with expensive eminent experts from outside. This is there. The thing that we need to really remember is India is supposed to be a very intelligent country with a lot of potential researchers. So we need to look at, identify, support them, maybe give them some sort of an exposure visit through the industry support, and that would really help for the industry. Even we can establish some of the center of excellences where can really work and probably get the support from the industry. Another very important thing I would say, industry sometimes may have a bitter experience with some institution where they don't want to go. Don't be obsessed with that, and that's where I think probably we need to really address. And with this, I wish I have set the platform for future discussions. So maybe I think we have all the panelists now. especially I think we have Mr. Atul Saxena, Joint Secretary from the Ministry of Food Processing Industries, who has been an architect behind this whole, I would say, the virtual exhibition part of it. And also we have Dr. Ananta Ramakrishnan, my friend, and from our own ministry, that is from the IAFPT. So that's where I think he has done, he has contributed immensely, especially in the field of research. And we have, of course, the industry partners. So Dr. Jasveer Singh, Regulatory, Scientific and Government Affairs Leader, South Asia from DuPont Nutrition and Health. I know DuPont is a very big organization which is really catering. In fact, we are collaborating with them for many issues. Our students are getting involved. And of course, Mr. Krishna Joshi, I think he is there always to regulate us, to head regulatory affairs from ITC. ITC has been a big partner with NIFTA, and we are very proud that he is also there with us. And probably, I think now I request Mr. Atul Saxena to initiate discussion with regard to the programs and schemes which are developed by the ministry for establishing good collaboration with academia and industry. Please, Dr. Atul Saxena, please.
Thank you, VC Nitin, sir. Good morning to everybody. Good morning to Dr. Anand Ramakrishnan, Director, ISPT. Good morning to Dr. Jasveer Singh, Regulatory, Scientific and Government Affairs Leaders, South Asia, DuPont Nutrition, and Mr. Krishna Joshi, Head in Regulatory Affairs, ITC Limited. I first apologize. I just got delayed by a few minutes because I had to go across India Gate because of those parades in this period. My usual route got disturbed, but I could manage to just reach the by 9:45 and just start my. Good morning to all participants as well, from industry as well as from universities as well. I will just speaking about what the ministry has been expecting from the universities, what we have been promoting as a ministry in the field of R&D, what we are doing and what we expect from industry and universities. That will be the broad area which I'll be covering, because I am not the specialist in the field of R&D, so I will not be able to touch that issue, but I would like to just come out with what we are doing as a ministry. I would just like to intimate that the ministry has been implementing and supporting R&D activities in food processing since 1997. It may be over 2 decades. In 1990s, the scheme of supporting R&D activity in food processing industries started in the ministry. And since then, we have been assisting and supporting industry, universities, for coming up with new technologies, upgradation of technologies, packaging, improvement in safety, these are the areas, fields which we have been supporting, where R&D activity is being supported by the ministry. Over the past span of 2 decades, initially DST was also involved. This scheme was being implemented to SCRB, and then in 2017, ministry started implementing the scheme directly. In this scheme, the ministry's objective has been that the end product, outcome, and findings of R&D work should benefit the food processing industries. It is not our scheme is not totally oriented towards R&D work. It is basically linked with the industry, because R&D activity which supports our industry, which food processing industry, that is the objective of this scheme. It is not, ideally speaking, R&D activity can be done by the universities and research institutes by themselves. Here, it is the linkage between that R&D activity should pass on that benefit to the industry. That is an objective. And as we all know, big industries can have their R&D activity as a separate house in their setup, but smaller activities, smaller industries like MSMEs or small units may not be in a position to have their separate R&D activities because of their own turnover, very limited activity. So the objective is also to have R&D activity in food processing industries, and to assist these small MSMEs to take up new technologies, say meet with the quality standards and improve the packaging, and likewise utilization of wastage, how they can use it properly. These were the areas. These were basically the concern of ministry in this under this scheme. And in this scheme, what we are supporting, we are supporting all the industry, all the universities like IITs, food processing university, industries, universities dealing with food processing, and even the private private also units, R&D units, which are recognized by CSR. Yeah. And in this case, in this scheme, we are supporting 100% for the equipments, whatever equipment is required for R&D, and we are also supporting for government supported R&D units in respect of SR. You need a senior research fellow or a junior research fellow for the period of suppose it is for your project is for 2 years or 3 years. So for that period, we also support the salary of that person. We can say understand we are totally 100% supporting the government institutes like IITs or respectable institutes, and for private institutes we are supporting 50%. There is a broad way in which we are supporting R&D activity linked with food processing industry, and that too linked with the industry. And to make it more oriented towards industry, what we have started doing is we are asking whenever we get the proposal, we are asking that proposal should be accompanied with some industries consent also. They will utilize, they will play a role in commercialization, because our objective is it should be commercialized, it should be used by the industry. In that effort of the ministry, till date we have supported about 260 projects under R&D, and out of this about 195 projects have been completed, and about 65 are under implementation. So to that extent, ministry has supported R&D activity in food processing linked with the industry. And we have also had a recent study on our what is the progress, what is the output we are getting on the from this R&D scheme which we ministry is supporting. We found that there has been, although as we know, R&D activity sometimes it doesn't result in the expected result, and it may not be possible for industry to use it, but still we have found that as many as 15 patents have been filed, over 250 papers have been published, and about 50 transfer of technology has also taken. This is the progress which has come in our scheme. But what we felt that there is a lot of scope of further interaction between industry and universities. We found that the link between the researchers and the industry is still to be improved upon, further improved upon. And with that orientation, we felt that we should have some exhibition of R&D. So that we can showcase whatever has been supported by the ministry to the industry, and with that they will know what is happening, and if it is of their use, they can come and they can help in commercialization. And further, once the interaction between industry and research is, because normally in our country, as we see, that is a very practical situation. We normally work in a separate in silos. Industry is working in one area, and universities and institutes are working in other area. They are not so linked. And through this exhibition, which is ongoing, we are trying to showcase what R&D activities have been done in food processing industry, so that if the industry which is linked with that activity, they can just contact with R&D people and take the benefit and further improve upon, because there is always some ideas come in the university, and they had done something on that. Industry with its practical experience can come to that PI and say, you do something, add on this, and then further improve that, and it can be commercialized that way. With that objective, we had a feeling that there should be an exhibition, and we should exhibit to industry, to all other stakeholders who may be benefited from R&D activities done till date. And further, because once there is a linkage established between the industry and these institutes, some inputs may come from the industry. You do something like this, do some research, and they may also come with, because till date ministry is supporting some investment in this R&D sector. If that interest comes from the industry, they might also prop these universities in some providing financial support. As we can understand, R&D also needs some money. In that case, if that is an interest area of industry, they can come and sit along with that concerned university and do some research work, and then come with a better technology, better processes, or better packaging, or whatever. There are so many fields in the food processing area where still there is a vast scope to improve upon. Then industry and this university can have a tie-up, and then they can go ahead and we all know that research does take time. It may take 2, 3, 4, 5 years to materialize, but at least some linkage will be established. That is an objective of this expo, which is currently under progress, and we are also participating in one webinar today. My objective of speaking here was just to communicate what we want to do, and we are very welcoming this attitude. Now, if somebody wants to submit a proposal, we have made it totally online. The point is, earlier used to have physically submit the proposal, and now research institutes and research institute in collaboration industry can submit application online. Online portals has also been opened about in this year itself, 2021, and it is available. And recently, as VC Niptum G might have conveyed you, we have also just to make more public what R&D activity is going on, we have launched the R&D portal as well, as where there are 200 projects of reputed universities of the country. And with that, I feel industry will know where we stand and where we can improve upon. Basically, our intention is to attract the industry and interact with our research institutes, and to commercialize what is the existing technology, improve upon it. I don't say you with the existing technology you might feel it may be difficult, it may not be practicable. Then we can improve upon that and further make it usable in the current scenario, and with the new ideas, because industry is interacting with the customers, consumers, and have the feeling and marketing everything, so they can convey to these institutes, and they can think in that line, because they might be working in some isolation silos. They are doing some research as with their students and those things, and this can be improved upon. That is the objective of this expo, and I wish all the success for universities and also for industry, that they should utilize this forum to the best extent. They should interact so that both the party has a win-win situation, and also this country improves. Our objective is also to link with the farmers. As the technology improves, it will result in better earning to farmers, better return to farmers, better product to consumers, and this is the objective of the exhibition. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Atulji. I think it was a very good intervention by the ministry, especially with regard to bringing together the industry and academia, because all the research projects which are funded by the ministry have an industry linkage. So that means, the industry is always there wherever we seek support from the industry or from the ministry. That's where I think ministry is doing a very good, I would say, has taken a very good initiative. And we should be thankful to our Honorable Secretary Pushpa Subramanian Madam. She has taken a lot of interest in this, not only in formalizing the research programs, even I would say developing the portal, which can give a hint. I would say that the portal doesn't speak about the achievements which can be directly adopted. It will give a hint which are the areas where the institutions are working. In fact, I would say 40 institutions are involved at present, and maybe we have uploaded only the some of the research findings which they have given. There are many more. We are trying to bring them together and probably put them onto the website, which will be useful for everybody, especially those who want to become an entrepreneur or for an industry. I wish this is a very good initiative, and of course, he has highlighted how actually the research projects are funded, and with regard to the new institutions or the government institutions or the private institutions and all that, and the end product, how the ministry desires to utilize them for the benefit of the industry. I think that's where I would say this is something which is very important and which has been done by the ministry in a very, very befitting way. And in fact, more than 15-20 people are there as members of this R&D, the finalizing team. And in fact, I would say it is taking a real good shape. So now, probably, I think, we will move on to Dr. Ananta Ramakrishnan, who has been a researcher basically from CFTRI, and is the director of IIFPT, which is a very important institution, which is also going to become NIFTEM in the near future if the Lok Sabha approves the NIFTEM bill. So I request Dr. Anantharam Ramakrishnan for his inputs, please.
Yeah, thank you so much, VC sir, and Atul Saxena sir, and also other panelists, Joshi sir and Jaisi sir. Really, is a good, wonderful panel. It's a well balanced. If you look at two academicians, one ministry side, policy makers, and two industry side. And I like to talk about bit on what research side, and also somewhere we are facing the issue really where we are unable to get marriage between the industry and academia. If you look at the industry wanted based on mostly on the market demand. What is the market demand and how we can go? Because in the food industry whole itself, if you look at, it is not like a big margin industry. Almost maximum 5 to 10% margin only we can able to achieve from the whatever we produce, because we produce the bulk and bulk. It is not like a pharmaceutical industry and high-end industry. We get the large margins because we need to sell more product to get more profit. That is the industry perspective, and industry moving on to that direction. What is the market demand? According to that, they plan and execution, everything going one side. And if you come back to the academic side, we are entirely operating different ball game, because we are catered to the need of the student first. Mainly research, if you look at PhD students mainly, and they have to get a degree. That is the first instance. Second, national research programs we used to involve, and whatever the DST, DBT, CSIR, all the research program, whatever they put up, we are getting the funding, we are working. That also with the 3 years funding program like that we are operating. And most of the research goes for the basic research. We need to do basic research and also applied research. And this what Atul Saxena said about, it is a silos. Yes, we are doing something. We never bother about what industry needs, what is the market demand, nothing we are. Just we go ahead with the basic research and we wanted to train our students and we have to get it. And this probably may be the issue with our system itself, because we have to give the promotions based on the publications, based on the output, what they created by the scientist. We are not giving the incentives, how much amount of the time they spend for the industry consultation and other things, because we need to balance that side. That's what our industry side, we are moving into this direction. And where is the really issue comes, where we can pitch into that. One is I started with the same thing, consumer demand, because the consumer demand based on industry runs. Industry knows that consumer demand. For example, whole Europe 2017 imported biscuit worth is 3.7 billion worth of the biscuits they import around the globe, whole Europe country. India's contribution less than 1%. It's only 1.2 million dollar worth only we exported to the whole Europe. We produce almost 100 million tons of the wheat, 270 lakhs tons of the sugar. Converting into the biscuit, where is the lag? We need to have the R&D. Second thing, what is the Europe consumer demand biscuit? Krishnan, Joshi sir is there in the ITC. They know very well. Yeah, they are also producing the biscuits. Is it a Europe demand such type of biscuits are we producing? And the taste and perception and packaging, all the solution, are we able to do the R&D here? Even small industry wanted to send it. We need to understand what is the consumer demand in that particular thing. That industry may be well aware of that. But R&D institution like IFPT, NIFTEM, CFTRI, we need to get that information. We don't have the access to this market strategy or market availability. That is what we are losing the link. So whatever we know, we are making the framework of research our people are doing. So this is the area industry has to come forward, take the help of this in the institutions, whatever the facilities we are available, and they can tell us, yes, this is the type of biscuits we need. Can you able to do that R&D on that? Definitely we can link that from this to that. And why industry is not coming here? Issue is coming, who holds the IPR rights? That's what the fear of the industry. And the time frame. Industry needs maximum 6 months, not more than 6 months. Whatever the project we have done in IFPT, maximum, including the Joshi sir knows that maximum 6 months. They wanted 3 months time framework of the working. Our style of functioning is all the funding agency, including Ministry of Food Processing. Ministry of Food Processing is given 2 years maximum, or some project 3 years. And we runs with the very slow phase, because we have other commitments to do. We won't do morning to evening only research. We have to take the class, we have to do the skill development, so many things. piling up. So research is maximum 30% contribution we can do it per day. So in this scenario, how we can cope up with this type of time pressure, what we are getting from the industry. Then sharing the IPR. Now we come up with some policies, we can hold both the industry and the institution can hold the IPR rights. So that we need to sort it out. Second one is regulation. JCSR is there today. They can talk about, even Joshi sir can talk about that regulation, because suddenly so many things happening around us. They're asking us to reduce the salt, sugar, fat, and trans fat to reduce some target. So how to go with that? And testing methodology. For example, recently all we are aware of that what is happening in the our honey or ghee, all these things. We need to develop methodology for that. Can we have the alternative to salt? No. If you do that, what is that solution for that? We can't alter the sodium chloride. If you make it another one, what is the cost of that? Pricing is another problem for the any industry, any product comes to the market. If the pricing properly, we are not able to fix it, it's difficult to withstand in the market. So if we change the fat instead of normal fat to you change it to another fat or the sugar for that case, you can move to other sugar, low GA sugar, all the things. Is the problem is pricing. And then again the validation. Now regulators are telling you need to validate your things. After 2018 regulation on nutraceutical, most of the claims has to be validated. For example, if you claim, like you heard about it, some of the product is take back from the shelves after launched, mainly for the validation. Immune boosting foods, how many validation we have done for all the immune boosting components from our side. Definitely institution can support all these things, but industry has to believe it, and they have to come forward, and they have to tell the institution this is the what we need. And that type of marriage, if you're able to do that around the table, yes, it's possible to do that. Another one is hardcore research itself, the research problem. What we know that we are doing it, what industry needs, we need to know the research problem. For example, continuously increasing in the alternative to meat. Yes, plant-based meat is continuously increasing the demand, especially after the COVID backdrop. But how many we are able to do that? Is a texturized protein is possible to do that? We have the solutions, and how much we can go for that, and how to validate what we develop in our lab, the product into the market. We don't have the people to put it our product into the market to get the market feedback. Industry easily can support us to do that. And for example, RTE product, ready to cook, ready to eat product is increased more than 35% demand recent past. Such a scenario, what are the support can get it from us? And insect protein can be a solution for supplement to the protein. Can we get such type of protein, insect growth and all the things? It may not be needed for our country, but we can do it, really look into the export market. Superfoods, we know all the things superfoods, but still only few products are dominated in the superfoods class, including our coconut can be converted, our millet can be converted, but we need a support evidence. For example, millet, if we convert as the flour, we can't keep it a long storage time. What is the other solution? If packaging, insects comes, can we have the alternative than the fumigation, phosphine fumigation, than any other techniques? So these are the problems we need to put up the proper
Good.
problem and solution. Second thing, what Abhinav when started is telling about startups. India is world number 3rd in the startups, but food startups, registered startups in India is only merely 200 plus. Where is the problem? Problem is highest rate of failure in the new product launches in the food sector. We have to understand, we have to believe it that if we are not able to get that clarity, then it's a problem. You launch one product, definitely it's going to be failure. You need to understand where you are launching. Suddenly you develop one product in any of the incubators or IFPT or NIFTA. You launch the product in the Malaysia or even Tamil Nadu. That may not stand. You need to understand what is the product you're launching. That has to be accepted by your home and the state. And you need to penetrate stage by stage. Then only you can do that. And then traceability. 2016 is more than 800 product has been called back. So how much pressure on the system? Traceability can be added along with the blockchain and IoT systems to monitor them. And waste, ministry is giving a lot of emphasis on the waste to wealth. We need to monitor throughout the things, whole supply chain, because whole world, 3.2 billion tons of the products are wasted. 1/3 of the product what we produce in the farm gate is wasted. So how to reduce that? We need a clear documentation. Where is the production more? Where is the less? Maybe IoT based system can help with it. So these are the areas we can easily work together. we can give lot of benefit to the society as well as all the countries. And definitely we wanted to make it a world food factory of Indian industry, and the institution has to join hand, then not it is going to be possible. Thank you so much, sir.
Good. Thank you. I think a lot of issues have been raised by Dr. Ananta Ramakrishnan. Of course, the prime requirement is the consumer demand and understanding, the awareness of the market and marketing strategy. I think, these are the whole thing revolves around this issue. Of course, the industry institutional collaboration because of IPR issue or some other issue, as I said, maybe the ready availability of technology outside. So that's where I think it is suffering. And of course, pricing of the product because of the regulatory regime. So we have to look at that very seriously. Otherwise, it will not have a demand within the country. Supposing we are sending it outside, a lot of, I would say, the regulatory regimes have to be followed, and could be, I think this is where the validation requirements are very serious, and that's where I think the rejection rate is very high. And I wish these things are taken care. And I want to just mention here, hardcore research wing in institutions is very essential. Probably mixing it with academia for the teaching and the research, PhD research, MTech research, everything, and including the village adoption program and such things, probably will dilute the whole effort. I wish this is something which is very, very important. And of course, the startups have come to stay with us. We need to really create that environment. Could be through technology business incubation and whatever. I think that is something which is going to happen. Probably, I think this is. Thank you very much, Dr. Antaram Krishna. That's where I think the whole industry is looking forward. And now I think we will move on to the industry partner, Dr. Jasveer Singh, regulatory, scientific, and government affairs leader for South Asia from DuPont Nutrition and Health. I request Dr. Jasveer Singh to give his inputs. So kindly, please.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for giving us this opportunity to share our experiences in this domain. Well, I have been a researcher at some point of time in my student life. So in CSIR labs and in those labs which were heavily focused on industrial R&D. So have a fair share of experience on both sides of academia as well as industry in that sense. So I think the first point which we need to keep in mind is to understand why does industry get into R&D and why should they look at academia as partners in industry. And once we are able to really pinpoint that reason, then academia or other partners can work on creating those capabilities and systems to cater to the needs which industry has. So if I look at my experience, there are two kinds of research projects or projects that industry takes up. Some of them are long shot, which requires basic research, which which have a huge degree of uncertainty about the success rate which is possible. And those are the kinds of projects where industry typically tend to shy away from putting in their own investments, and they need partners in academia to take up that kind of basic research. The other one is are more transactional and where you have some immediate problem which need to be sorted out. And I think creating capabilities to deal with these two different kinds of needs would also help in creating a better ecosystem to forge alliance between industry as well as academia. The other thing is about differences in terminologies or different languages which are used by industry as well as academia or other stakeholders here. And when I say that, I mean, for example, in most of the discussions, the definition of innovation has been restricted to include only product innovations. Whereas innovation is a much broader term and much broader sense. For an industry, even a supply chain innovation, even a delivery mechanism innovation, even an innovation which reduces their or helps them have a better route to market are equally valuable parts of innovation, which unfortunately do not find due attention in this industry academia dialogues on forging innovation alliances. So I think we also need to move beyond products when we look at innovation in these discussions. Product is of course important, but as one of my teachers used to say, that even a halwai on the street can make a product. I mean, why do you need a scientist for that? There is a value that a scientist brings to the table, and we must realize that value. So hence we need to move beyond product in our discussions. The other thing is, and that's a very typical example of terminology differences, is this very loose use of word novel foods or novel technologies. Now, from a regulatory sense, that means something very, very different than what a typical example of a novel food we get to see in academia. I mean, any product which is a little different from what is already existing gets termed as novel food. Whereas the sense that a novel food conveys in a regulatory terminology is something which has not even been consumed by the population, local population at least. Right. So I think that sort of cross-cultural integration of these teams is also required, so that they both use the same terminology, so that everybody understands it in the same way. The other point is that today we are living in a very globalized world. So when I, as an industry technical leader, go out in order to search partners for doing my research projects in academia, for me, India is not the only place where I will look for potential candidates. For me, the whole world is a place from where I will source technologies or institutes where I will collaborate. In that sense, Indian institutes and potential partners also need to look at the whole globe and make them attractive compared to other places in the world. It is no longer limited to India. And that will bring in a lot of awareness once institutions start looking at benchmarking themselves against global places. Now, the other thing which often comes up is about lack of awareness on what is required. And I'm looking at the topic of this session, which is around uh, novel foods and how we can market it to the world, and where we can take Indian products to the global markets. So when we have to take something to market, it needs to be available in a market ready condition. And one of the big challenge is what Dr. Anand as well as Dr. Vasudeva have mentioned, is around the validations or the risk assessment processes for those products and technologies. In India, we do not have even one institute which does the risk assessment of a global standard, which is accepted by global bodies. We do not have a body like JECFA, we do not have a body like EFSA, we do not have an institute like China's Center for Risk Assessment Sciences, whose output or whose opinion on safety and risk assessment of a food or a technology is respected globally and forms the basis of approval by regulatory authorities all around the world. That's a big gap. So if we want to take Indian technologies or Indian products to the global market, we must have that institute in place. I mean, it may not be a standalone institute, it may be a department in some institute which is already existing, but which does risk assessment of the order which is respected worldwide. Otherwise, what happens? We build a product or a technology, but that is not accepted because there is no risk assessment available for that which is approved or which is accepted by the other markets. And that becomes a big roadblock. Now, I think the last point that I wanted to mention was that there's a huge cultural difference between industry and academia, and there's a need not only for sensitization on both sides, but also to appreciate the differences and respect those differences. I mean, typically the reputation that industry carries in academia is that they are bothered only about money. They don't bother about anything else. And the industry carries the reputation that academia commits a lot of things but do not deliver on time, or that they do research for the sake of research. There is no definite deliverable at the end of it. Now, while this is a cultural differences, but there's also a need to respect it. Academia has a very genuine reason for doing research for the sake of research, because without that, their career progression is at stake. I mean, unfortunately, the career reward mechanisms which we have in institutes does not give a same level of credit for an industrial research or activity compared to a basic research, where the whole reward mechanisms are based on impact factors and patents filed. So I think these are things which are there. We must acknowledge it. We must respect it and move forward and build on those stuff.
Yeah, good.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for an excellent intervention. I would say a lot of issues from the industry, which really matter very much, especially for a good relationship. And you said rightly, the sensitization is required with regard to the cultural differences between the industry and academia. Of course, apart from, I would say, a lot of the terminology issues and I think why we should have an interaction at all. And world is one now. All institutions across the world can come, and the kind of I would say collaboration for research could be a long term or a transitional or a transactional research, something like that. And innovation, and what is the innovation and what is that we expect? All these issues are really well addressed. I would say, they are probably, I think, a sort of guidelines for the academia to look into all these things seriously. And I wish the academic partners will be very happy to get involved into this. Now, coming to the last panelist, of course, always they will control at the end. The regulatory head, regulatory affairs, ITC Limited, Mr. Krishna Joshi sir. I think I request you for your kind intervention. Yeah.
Thank you very much, sir, and thank you very much all the participants as well, and our respected, senior member from Ministry of Food Processing. Really, it's an amazing time, and it is really treasure to share our experience, a practical experience within such kind of group. Most of the thing have been talked about by the learned speakers from academy and Mr. Dr. Jasveer Singh also. I'll bring a little different perspective on this discussion. The number one is we understood how and what should be done industry, academia, and government policies. Now I will bring in another element of agricultural into it. How to integrate that, because the food If there is no agriculture, there is no food. I'm sure for that. There is no second thought on that, because my input is agriculture. So I'll bring in that element into my discussion. The second is, when we talk about academia, industry, government policy, agriculture, I'll bring in a food security part also, which is one of the goal of the SDG, Sustainable Development Goal of made by United Nations. And second part, which I thought I will share with you, a confidence building between industry and academia is very, very important, because I don't know, the research is being done for industry, where it is going, whether it is being shared by some other or not. That kind of apprehension is there with the industry. If that can be taken care, I think, uh, although I do not have any such kind of issue, because we work with Dr. Anand Ramakrishnan, we didn't find those issues, but still industry has those assumptions. And as far as the time and delivery constraint also, since we had worked with Dr. Anand Ramakrishna, there also we didn't get any, delays or something like that. I don't think, as an ITC, maybe we have very good procedures and SOPs to gel with the institutions. Maybe that is the reason. I don't know, but general industry feeling is that, time bound delivery executions are not happening, confidentiality is on stake, etc. uh, as far as the financial support from the government is concerned, I think we should appreciate that, the kind of support provided by the government, at least in these 3-4 years, it is humongous. But again, when I was drilling down, I found that, industry is not aware, whether who is getting that support, uh, and what they have done with that support which government has provided. Is it reflecting somewhere so that people can access it, make understand it, and then get concluded into their included into their business. So that is one part. Second is whether the innovation or the support which is provided has a cost effective, or resulted into cost effective innovation or not. If it is not a cost, see, the people have got the support from ministry, and now the innovation which they have done is not cost effective to industry. So industry definitely will not look at it. So there should be some index-based deliveries for those institutions who are getting these supports from the ministries, and huge supports are there. So index-based delivery should be there. Cost and impact and cause and effect analysis should also be the part of the scrutiny criteria when these kind of grants are released. Because if there is no impact analysis, we will keep distributing that money, but we will not get a right kind of benefit out of it. Existing ideas are being, generally I have seen, whatever I have seen is the people are working on the existing ideas which are already there in various countries. It is some ideas are there in Pakistan itself, and in neighboring countries they're doing it, already doing it. I don't know what kind of innovation are we bringing, some positiveness into it, some enriching that innovation, I don't know. So that part should also be looked in, whether it is an existing innovation across the world or it is a new innovation. The third one, the another part is, I strongly recommend that there should be some intermediate technical cell between industry, academia, and the government. Technical, I am saying technical, not the administrative. Technical cell who will understand the need of the industry, and who will understand the backbone of the government policies, etc., and then accordingly execute these tasks. Uh, Definitely, Ananda sir said consumer demand. Without that, industry cannot flourish. So industry works on the consumer demand. So consumer-oriented innovations has to be built into system. Uh, the other part is, I have also seen that the startup which are coming up, because the failure rate is very high. Why? Because startup, they do or initiate by themselves. They do not, interact with industry or consumer. They do not do right kind of study in the marketplace and then start their innovation. So that could be one reason where the startups are largely failing. There are few things which is something related to the policy institutionalization or policy development, wherein the emotional sentiment of some kind of interested parties or the groups, they derail the innovation and they derail the industry setup also. So that part should also be looked into when we are talking about innovation, because Dr. Jasveer said innovation is not a product innovation, is a holistic innovation. Every part of it has to be looked into. I have, sir, Dr. Vasdeva, I have few examples which will depict that what is to be done and in which area is to be done. That is in my slide. So if you permit me, I can show those quickly, those slides.
Just 2 minutes, 2 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah. So I hope my slide is visible.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, so this is a little bit about myself. Here I was talking about the agricultural extension of this talk, how to build an synergy with academia, institutions, industry, government policies, and also how to link it with the agricultural, because agricultural is a food for the industry. So entire value chain has to be mapped. Institutions, political channel, stakeholders, etc., and agricultural extension systems all also need to be roped into to understand, the industry need, and accordingly, the required policies, procedures, and innovations has to be initiated. Otherwise, it will be a very we will be in a dilemma. One side of facet is ready, the other side of facet is not ready. So agriculture is not ready. Food innovation, we have done a lot of things, but I am not getting that kind of input. I will give you an example of that. Millet. Now, if I do not have a millet quality parameter which is defined by regulatory people, then how I will use that? It will lie with the farmer only, or either a vice versa. You develop the regulatory parameter as according to the agricultural crop which you are producing, and then make appropriate use of that particular innovation or system. These are the four key aspects of the food security, which is linked to the sustainable development goals. Now, if you look at food availability, we need to have a pest resistance varieties, pesticide uses to be controlled, agronomy has to be improved, climate resistance crop has to be built in, and there are many facets of it, like market assisted breeding, advanced genetic engineering, high nutrient fodder for animals is to be made available, low cost diagnostic kit. If I am able to test a certain thing from itself, it will make sure that the kind of quality I am producing is appropriate to the industry. Low cost veterinary products, and most of the things are many things are related to the water also, because we have a water scarcity. So how to utilize, how to do a water management in that sense, how to do a soil management by introducing organic fertilizer, biogas digester, zero conversion tillage, soil microorganism, how to improve that. We have forgot our traditional knowledge. When I was working in the university, one of my friend used to work on the nitrogen fixation bacteria. So, we used to learn so many things. So similar kind of, if the soil micro flora is to be increased, so that they produce better quality, or they produce the good kind of yield in that sense. Soil health kits and cards are also being promulgated by the government. Precise input to increase yields, food access में food harvest losses, preservation, battery chillers. There are so many things are there which can be looked upon to make sure that the industry has the right kind of inputs, so that it can deliver better yield and better product to the consumers.
Thank you.
So few examples, especially on food innovation when we do product development. So these are the few things which we can look at and the participant can look at for their innovation programs. We have food innovation facilitation from the regulators. So regulatory structure should also facilitate those innovations. So many things is already being done, you can see in this chart, but still there are many things which need to be done. Food innovation, as far as the online tool, techniques and software solutions are concerned, which is basically the IT enablement. So there are many things which can be done, like product lifecycle management, automated system for replacing manual manufacturing activities, and so on and so forth. You have processing technology where you can do the innovation. So nowadays new hurdle technologies are being understood, which were there, but their use was not. Now people are doing those hurdle technologies, temperature, time, pH, etc., by which they are controlling their microbial proliferation in those products. So there are so many things which participants or the innovator can do. Innovation can also be done in recycling, reusing of various things. You have another area of wherein the innovation key drivers are there. You have to use with the innovative ingredients. You have to use your traditional old wisdom of knowledge, most productive seed, fusion. Virtual restaurants is coming up, the new idea, lab grown meal, biodegradable packaging. Vertical farming is also being practiced, the best example, the agricultural practices is Israel. Super crops, Dr. Ananda Ramakrishnan has already spoken about. Cryogenic grinding to make sure that your the nutrient quality is intact in your final product. Harvesting of certain food from the plant at the time when the phenolic compounds or other health nutrients are high. For example, why do you eat your sprout? So can I have those kind of new understanding? Why people know that sprout is good, but they don't know why it is good, because at the time those sprouts are harvested, the phenolic compounds are high in that, which acts as an antioxidant in for your body or health system. So no, there are many things also. So those kind of things can be looked at. So these are the few examples which I will share with you, and I will stop here, sir.
Good. Thank you very much, Joshi Sahab. I think it was a great, inspired learning, and of course, we are very proud. ITC has no issues with the institutions while tackling some of these, innovations and things like that. Of course, he was pressing more, especially on the SDGs and the food security. I think that's where probably agriculture is the mother of everything, and probably without agriculture, there is no culture and food. So that we appreciate and always honor. And that's where I think, the regulatory part of it, how it should be, innovations have to be there, cryogenic grinding, and of course the value chain, especially the agricultural extension system is something which he has been stressing very well. I think that's where it's very much required. It is the product which is produced, it should be analyzed for its impact. That's where the agricultural extension system would definitely help us. And I know a lot of new ideas he has given, and probably I think the innovation, not necessarily that it should be within India, it can be anywhere, but the clarity has to emerge, especially with regard to what is that is to be innovated. Without having any background or clarity, probably innovation doesn't help or doesn't give out anything. So cost-effective innovation and index-based delivery system is something which, again, he stressed. Probably I think these are some of the issues which are essentially required. I know ITC has been doing good. with all the institutions, and they are there with us. And many of our students are there with us as interns and also as they're appointed. Probably, I think that's where ITC has been a big player in food. In fact, I would say they are the major takers for our graduates, especially those who are specialized in food. I think thank you very much, Joshi Saab, and I wish the whole thing went on so well. Probably a lot of issues have emerged. And of course, I know to sum up, I think otherwise time is a constraint. Already the next session is due in another 5 minutes. I will not take much of anybody's time. And probably the world is moving towards the industrial revolution, from the industrial revolution to the education revolution, probably the knowledge revolution. I think that's where we have to be very concerned. And of course, from industrial economy to the knowledge economy. So all these things happen only when there is a good collaboration, good understanding, good trust, good belief, and probably even if the academia is not aware of it, it is the duty of the industry, I would say, to make them aware. So that's where I think that collaboration or cooperation should exist, which will definitely help us to work together as a team. It is not that finding differences or finding faults with each other will resolve anything. It's only we have to come together, marry, and probably address the issues which are very important from the industry. I wish industry will really come up in a very big way with institutions which are really doing something for them. Probably that's where a lot of things are there, with maybe an industry chair or provision of some incentives or foundations for creating some excellence, center of excellence and things like that. That would definitely help for a better future collaboration. And I would even say, as per the new education policy, it is the internship which is very, very important. Internship, of course, all industries are taking 100% internships are being done at NIFTEM and IFPT, and also the technology business incubation, which again in collaboration with industry. The mentor should be there from the industry. Only then it will be successful. I wish these things are really addressed and taken care. And I thank all the I would say the experts and for their very valued inputs. And I wish this session went on very well. Probably had it been there is some more time, probably would have answered some of the questions and all that, but there is no time as per the organizers. So I thank all of you and hand over the mic to Abhinav, please. Mr. Abhinav, please.
So with this we end the session, and I thank all the participants and all the panelist members for sharing their views on this very important topic. Thank you all. Thank you, VC sir. Thank you, Director sir. Thank you, Atul sir and Dr. Jasveer and Dr. Joshi for sharing your views. Thank you so much. We'll now move to the next session. Thank you.
Thank you and all the best. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
चलो बताइए